and we're now joined by CEO of the Black Business Council, Mr. Kganki Matabane. Mr. Matabane, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. What do you make of the situation that seemingly is unfolding in Hartbeespoort, where you've got black businesses and organized communities there, black communities, that are saying that they're being denied the opportunity to successfully and peacefully run their businesses in Hartbeespoort, and that they also are being denied the opportunity to access land in the area?
Thank you very much, and good morning, Naledi, and the viewers. The reports that we are getting around the situation are very worrying, and they are very disturbing, especially that we are celebrating 30 years of democracy. You cannot afford another Orania happening in South Africa, and I'm glad that at least the Deputy Minister Mafawa is responding in a very positive way as compared to the Northwest government response, because they've been aware of all these things for some time, but it's only now that they said they will investigate, because the problem is here in the media is now on the issue. So we hope the National Department will do something, and we'll be able to. We will meet with the department. We'll meet with the Mafawa. We're also engaging with the business people there to hear both sides of the story. We'll also try and meet with the associations, the white associations that are trying to block black people from doing business. But we cannot afford a situation like that 30 years into democracy, where people don't have the freedom within the law to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, it's interesting because the allegations that some of these black businesses are putting forward is that in the Hartbeespoort area there are, and again they say Afrikaans-speaking white individuals. Again, these are their allegations, that there are those individuals as well as businesses that have leased land from the state, from the Department of Water and Sanitation, but the leases are 99 years old with a fee of up to 100 Rand a year. I mean, these are astronomical numbers. And then, of course, there's the allegation that some of them that do have these leases that last for decades. Some of these leases have, in fact, lapsed, and that nothing is being done then to evict them from the spaces.
Yes, hence we'll be engaging with the department to understand what is actually happening, because there are instances where government does not even know the amount of land they own. Again, 30 years later, there are still situations where government does not even know the leases that they have. So there's a possibility that there may be instances where people are taking advantage of the incompetence of government and continue to utilize areas even when the lease has expired. So that's what we want. We want to establish, and once we have established that, we'll be able to then to come up with a way forward to say, but you cannot have a situation where someone's lease has expired, but the person still behaves as if the lease is there. So it's very important to get all the facts, so that by the time we act based on full facts from both sides.
Yeah, there is, of course, the concern around the violence that is being sparked. I mean, we already know that last month there was the Bubbles Champagne Garden restaurant that was burnt to the ground, despite the work of the owner, Thabiso Matibedi, wanting to deal with the racial tension in the area. I mean, your concerns around how this is not just an issue of resources and access to business, access to land, but that it is becoming a situation that could likely, you know, get more and more violent.
Yeah, and then also we're worried because there's an example that happened. Mwadu was assaulted by a group of white people some years ago, and was beaten by a group of white people, and he took them to court and won. So the threats are not necessarily are not supposed not to be taken serious, because there has been some instances that happened. So it's important that the law enforcement agencies don't drag their feet. They run with the issue and take it as serious as it's supposed to be taken.
Tell me something, because obviously here we're talking about Hartbeespoort in that particular area, right? But now it raises the questions around if there are still pockets of places and spaces in the country where it simply is really difficult for black businesses to occupy, that there is still a sense that there are pockets and spaces in South Africa that belong only to some group, even if it is informally so, that other groups may not enter, operate, buy land and run their businesses?
My suspicion is that there are a lot of those places, especially where the Afrikaner community is concentrated, and a lot of black people are very scared to report such incidences. They are very, very fearful because you find that they are very, very, very few. They are a minority in that type of community, and if they report such cases, there's a possibility that there may be a retribution. So I think they are. So we would like to call all the people who are affected to report these cases, because we cannot have another Orania or Oranias happening in South Africa. It's not acceptable.
Now, the gentleman that was speaking in that clip earlier, Russell Baloy, he's of course an entrepreneur himself, but has organized businesses in the Hartbeespoort area also to speak out, says he was allocated 3.4 hectares of land. This was to run a camping and boating business, but said it's been absolute hell. He's been unable to access that property, essentially, being denied the physical access to it. And then, of course, he's quoted as saying the entire community of white people was mobilized through a lie that I was going to run a shebeen. And I think this perhaps might speak to perceptions around how we view black business, right?
It does, because there's that perception that when the black people get to a certain place, that the property prices will go down, forgetting that there's no price for when you buy land or when you buy properties. There's no price for black people and price for white people. The price is the same. And when you are investing your own money, whether you are black or white, you are also concerned about your own property prices, because you don't want to pay one rent this year and the next year the property is 50 cents. So that perception is not true, because black people are investing their own hard-earned money. They are not being given these properties or this land for free. They are buying the land with their own money, and they want to secure their own income and their own future. So that perception needs to be dealt with quickly, because it may spread to other areas where people are going to be discriminated based on those negative perceptions. But I think it's also the role of government to make sure that when things happen like this, they nip them in the bud as soon as possible. Because if you leave the hardest one, someone else is going to say, this thing is possible, let me go and do the same thing somewhere. So it's important that government needs to act as soon as possible and deal with these people.
Okay. Yeah, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Kganki Matabane there of the Black Business Council speaking to us this morning. We're going to take a